when we look at this, if we want to ever get to the point of getting to compromise, the only way we get there is by standing up and saying, we believe in this. It isn't about us demanding 100% of what we want, but right now, if you look at this objectively, the president's getting 100% of what he wants. Obamacare passed by only Democrats, not one Republican vote. So really, how do we get to what the American people want, which is dialogue and compromise? We have to look at a deadline. We have a deadline. And my question to the senator from Texas is, does he want to shut down the government? Is that his intention? Or is it the president's intention to shut down government? Or is it perhaps that when deadlines come forward, it's a good time for dialogue because no one ever seems to talk at any other time? So I would ask the senator from Texas, what are your intentions? Do you want to shut down government, or would you like to find something to make Obamacare less bad? I know we'd both like to repeal it, but would you accept anything in between?
Well, I thank the senator from Kentucky for his very fine question. The question that Senator Rand Paul asked is an excellent question. His question was, does anyone here want to shut down the government? And the answer is absolutely not. We should not shut down the government. We should fund every bit of the government, every aspect of the government, 100% of the government except for Obamacare. And you know what? That's what the House of Representatives did. The House of Representatives, 232 members of the House, including 2 Democrats, voted to fund every bit of the federal government, 100% of it, except for Obamacare. I would note last night on the floor of the Senate, I asked the majority leader to consent to passing the continuing resolution that the House passed, passing it into law. Had the majority leader not stood there and said, I object, the continuing resolution would be passed into law and the government would not be shutting down. The majority leader had every opportunity not to shut down the government. So let me be absolutely clear. We should not shut down the government, and I sincerely hope that Senator Reid and President Obama do not choose to force a government shutdown simply to force Obamacare on the American people. That would be a mistake. Instead, what we should do is listen to the American people, make D.C. listen.
Would you yield for one quick question?
I'm happy to yield for a question without yielding the floor.
Since we're making it clear that the Republican message and alternative here is not to shut down government, our desire is to have no Obamacare. We desire not to have it. We think he went the wrong direction. But we don't control all of the government. We don't control the Senate. It's controlled by the opposition party. We don't control the presidency. My question to you is, if you can't get everything you want, if you can't defund Obamacare, which is exactly what you and I both agree on, and millions of people across America want us to get rid of Obamacare, but if you can't, if you stand today and argue and cannot get rid of it, will you accept a compromise? Will you work with the president? Will you work with the majority leader if they're willing to come and say, you know what, we're right, we messed up on a bunch of this. There's a lot of people who are going to be hurt by Obamacare. So a lot of part-time workers are going to lose their jobs or going to lose hours. They're going to be real workers who are full-time who are going to lose their insurance or their jobs. Are you willing to work with us? Are you willing to work with the leader, Senator Reid, with the president to find a compromise?
Well, I thank the senator from Kentucky for that question. I think it's a very good question. You know, this afternoon, you and I and all of the Republican members of the conference spent some 2 hours in a closed-door strategy session. And I'm not going to reveal what anyone else said there, but I certainly feel comfortable revealing what I said there, which is, if we are going to make real progress in solving the problem that is Obamacare, in listening to the American people, in mitigating the job losses, the people losing their health insurance, all of the harms that are coming from Obamacare, we've got to stand and fight right now. The battle before this body is the cloture vote that will occur on Friday or Saturday of this week. If all 46 Republicans vote together in unity to support the House Republicans and to deny Majority Leader Reid the ability to fund Obamacare on a straight party line vote, that puts us in a position to address the problem. Now, your question was, would I vote for something less than defunding Obamacare? Personally, no. Why? Because I've committed publicly over and over again to the American people that I will not vote for a continuing resolution that funds 1 penny of Obamacare. And, you know, I'm reminded of when I first arrived in the Senate. I spent 2 years campaigning. The senator from Kentucky, Senator Paul, campaigned with me in Texas over and over again. You want to talk about a rock star, you should see when Rand Paul shows up in Texas, the huge fans that would come out for Senator Paul and for his dad. And I spent 2 years campaigning in Texas saying the first bill I'll introduce in Congress will be a bill to repeal Obamacare. When I showed up, lots of reporters, I introduced a bill to repeal Obamacare. They immediately said, well, why'd you do that? And my response was, well, I spent 2 years campaigning telling the American people that'd be the first bill I'd introduce. And they were utterly befuddled why anyone would actually do what they'd say. So in answer to your question, will I vote for something that is a middle ground that funds Obamacare? Partially, no. Why? Because I've repeatedly told the American people, I've told Texans, I will not vote for a continuing resolution that funds Obamacare. But that being said, are there members of our conference who would like to see a compromise? Who would like to see a middle ground that is perhaps not what I very much want and will fight for with every ounce of strength I have, but that mitigates some of the damage of Obamacare, that responds to the people who are suffering from Obamacare? I think there are quite a few senators who would like to see that happen. And if Republicans roll over on the cloture vote on Friday or Saturday, if we allow the majority leader to fund Obamacare with 51 votes, we will get no compromise. There will be no middle ground because there's no reason to compromise.